In a whirlwind of modern satire and political spectacle, American social media and news outlets found themselves at the epicenter of a cultural phenomenon that spanned comedy, controversy, and economic upheaval. Within less than 10 minutes of his performance, comedian Chris Rock unleashed a biting set that not only had audiences rolling with laughter, but also transformed the very fabric of political discourse. In a masterful act of humor and insight, Rock compared former President Donald Trump's leadership style to that of a reality television show, a comparison that would forever embed itself in the public psyche. Almost instantly, the video clip soared to over 5 million views and ignited an explosion of memes on Twitter, reflecting the readiness of an increasingly skeptical nation to laugh at the contradictions swirling around its leadership. Rock's performance, which began by drawing uproarious laughter from an audience captivated by his insightful satire, featured a cascade of observations that ranged from playful jabs to incisive critiques. He deftly wove together seemingly disparate threads of Trump's career, from the opulent promises of The Apprentice to the notorious financial flops of his casino empire in Atlantic City. With every punchline, Rock transformed Trump's serious public image into a subject of humorous ridicule. The comedian even invoked a surreal image by suggesting that Elon might be sent on a rocket ship aptly dubbed SpaceX, or that J-Lo might remarry Ben just to remain within national borders. In an ironic twist that could have easily come off as a scene from a satirical screenplay, Rock's commentary on Trump's life offered both hilarity and an oddly informative glimpse into the man's numerous failures, including the infamous 6 bankruptcies reported by Forbes. One cannot help but wonder, with a touch of dark amusement, if Trump's penchant for headline-grabbing antics was less about visionary leadership and more about the accidental comedy routine unfolding before our eyes. The humor intensified as Rock called to mind other absurd moments from Trump's public life, recalling when he famously altered a hurricane map with a Sharpie in 2019 and his bewildering act of staring directly at a solar eclipse in 2017. These bizarre incidents boosted Google's search volume for Trump Sharpie by an astounding 300% in just one day, a statistic that highlighted the precarious intersection of celebrity culture and political power. As the narrative unfolded, the comedian's skill in hitting the nerve of public discontent became increasingly evident. With each joke, he not only entertained, but also unearthed the deep-seated frustrations of an electorate tired of superficial pomp. It was as if the punchlines were carefully crafted surgical strikes aimed at the fragile core of Trump's self-image, a fact not lost on the former president himself. In a dramatic and somewhat ironic display of unresolved ego, Trump quickly lashed out on Truth Social, denouncing Rock as disrespectful and not funny, even as the internet responded with a relentless flood of memes and viral content. While Rock's performance was met with a maelstrom of online adoration, it was not only the political giant who felt the sting. Melania Trump, known for her measured and often inscrutable demeanor, was inadvertently thrust further into the limelight. Clips showing her repeatedly avoiding Donald Trump's outstretched hand quickly went viral, and search queries for Melania Trump surged by an astonishing 450% within 24 hours. This was not merely a case of the First Lady becoming an afterthought. It was a stark reminder that in the age of social media, even the most carefully curated images of dignity and reserve can become fodder for public scrutiny and humor. The sight of Melania's blank, almost resigned expressions sparked a new wave of memes and further reinforced the narrative of a leadership duo whose public performances were as much a subject of satire as they were of political debate. It is perhaps ironic that in this blend of humor and harsh reality, where every punchline carries the weight of historical consequence, there remains room for reflection on the state of American media and political satire. Amidst the cacophony of tweets, shared videos, and viral memes, there is a serious undercurrent, a public increasingly disillusioned by the contradictions and missteps of its leaders. For many, the self-deprecating humor of Chris Rock offers not just relief, but also a moment of piercing clarity about a political system that often seems more theatrical than substantive. And if you are enjoying this deep dive into the interplay of comedy and politics, consider subscribing to our channel and sharing your reactions in the comments below. Your perspective is an essential part of this ongoing conversation. As the ripple effects of that singular performance continued to reverberate across social media and beyond, other luminaries of American comedy seized the moment. Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel, two figures renowned for their incisive lampooning of political figures, joined the fray by using their platforms to scrutinize Trump's increasingly outlandish pronouncements. Carrey's impersonations painted Trump as a larger-than-life character, with an ego so vast that his very words seemed designed to deflect criticism. One moment, he extolled grand dreams such as leading humanity into space and leaving an indelible mark on Mars by planting a flag emblazoned with the iconic Trump logo. Carrey's hyperbolic portrayal extended this statement into an absurd cosmic narrative, one in which America would not only conquer space, but do so with a sense of misplaced gravitas that left audiences both amused and puzzled. In one of the more cutting moments, Carrey suggested that if Trump claimed strength and self-assurance, it might be because he felt compelled to overcompensate for something lacking. An observation that, while wrapped in humor, resonated with many who viewed the president's bravado as a mask for deeper insecurities. Jimmy Kimmel, meanwhile, took a slightly different but equally scathing approach by examining Trump's relationship with the media. In a segment that illuminated the peculiar dynamics of modern political discourse, Kimmel chastised the president for repeatedly attacking news outlets without seeming to recognize that he himself was the progenitor of countless controversies and misstatements. Kimmel's critique extended to Trump's bizarre fixation on crowd sizes, a symbolic obsession that seemed to underscore a desperate need for validation. The comedian's relentless questioning of the logic behind the president's claims drew hearty laughs from viewers, but also raised important questions about the relationship between media, power, and truth. It is hard not to chuckle at the absurdity of scrutinizing a leader who simultaneously champions the notion of truth while dismantling his own credibility. One might quip sarcastically that if Trump's ego were any bigger, it might soon require its own zip code. In this ongoing saga, the satire directed at Trump's contradictory behavior serves as a mirror reflecting the deeper fissures within American political culture, a culture that continues to oscillate between genuine concern and incredulous amusement. While the realm of comedy was ablaze with roasts and jests, the economic landscape was undergoing its own form of dramatic transformation. Fox News, long viewed as a bastion of unwavering support for Trump, began to fracture internally. Even stalwart commentators like Maria Bomo, consistently loyal to the former president's policies, found themselves at odds with an emerging narrative of economic uncertainty. In one particularly dramatic broadcast, Bomo posed a series of pointed questions regarding shifting trade policies, tariffs, and the stark realities many Americans faced as their retirement funds, such as 401k accounts, began to plummet by as much as 15% amid the chaos. This economic volatility was underscored by staggering statistics. Within a mere 30 days, the S&P 500 had dropped more than 7%, equivalent to a loss of over $2.3 trillion in market value, while also witnessing a nearly 1,500-point decline in the Dow Jones Index, the most significant drop recorded since the beginning of the year. For many, this was more than just abstract numbers. It was a clear indicator that the long-standing promises of an economic renaissance were giving way to a more sobering reality. The everyday American, watching as food prices, car insurance costs, and electric bills continued to rise, was forced to confront the growing disconnect between optimistic political rhetoric and the harsh realities of economic decline. In this context, Trump maintained an unwavering optimism, a quality that critics have long characterized as both stubborn and dangerously disconnected from economic realities. The former president repeatedly insisted that his policies would usher in the strongest economy in the history of the world, a claim he repeated even as inflation remained volatile and GDP growth languished below 2%. In one of his more emphatic statements, he declared, "I think if I didn't get elected, our country would be finished. I think we're going to have the strongest economy in the history of the world." Yet even as these proclamations echoed through campaign rallies and televised addresses, the public responded with a mix of skepticism and apprehension. There is an undeniable irony in the fact that while the rhetoric promised prosperity, the tangible evidence pointed to a financial landscape in disarray, a scenario that left many wondering whether the elusive greatness was steadily drifting further out of reach. Adding yet another layer of complexity to an already multifaceted narrative, Trump's recent forays into grandiose geopolitical ambitions have added fuel to the fire. In a move that shocked both political analysts and the international community, Trump proposed annexing Canada into the United States, a notion that has outraged Canadians nationwide. This controversial idea, which was presented amidst the clamor for stronger economic ties and national pride, has inadvertently triggered a sweeping boycott of American goods across Canada. The economic repercussions have been immediate and staggering. Within just 2 months, U.S. consumer goods imports to Canada dropped by 101%, while overall sales of American products, including food, beverages, technology, and automobiles, fell by over 20%. Even iconic brands like Coca-Cola Canada reported a 15% decline in revenue in Q1, and Ford Canada saw a 12% drop in sales, highlighting a dramatic shift in consumer sentiment. The boycott, which rapidly transcended the realm of mere social media hashtags like Boycott USA and Made in Canada, has become a symbol of national resistance. It is both a response to an audacious political maneuver and a manifestation of a desire among Canadians to reclaim economic independence. One might sarcastically note that it appears America's attempts at patriotic expansion have backfired so spectacularly that even the maple syrup is now off limits, if only as a lighthearted jab at the gravity of the situation. The repercussions of Trump's annexation proposal extend far beyond trade statistics. For years, Canada has served as one of America's most important trading partners in tourism markets, with over 20 million Canadian tourists contributing more than $22 billion annually to the U.S. economy. However, the recent boycott has sent shockwaves through this established economic relationship. Canadian tourism to the United States plummeted by 25% in just 3 months, causing major disruptions in key states such as Florida, California, and New York. The U.S. tourism industry has since incurred losses exceeding $5 billion, with hotels reporting revenue declines of 18% during peak seasons, a situation that has forced many establishments to either close prematurely or reduce their workforce. At theme parks like Disney World and Universal Studios, visitor numbers have dropped by as much as 10 to 15%, while shopping centers across New York and California have registered a 12% decline in sales as Canadian shoppers increasingly turn their attention to domestic brands or even European, Japanese, and South Korean alternatives. Such a dramatic realignment in consumer behavior signals not only a distancing from American products, but also a broader geopolitical statement. Canada is no longer willing to be seen as an appendage of the U.S. economy. What is perhaps most striking about these recent developments is how they underscore the unpredictable intersection of entertainment, politics, and economics in contemporary society. From Chris Rock's incendiary stage performance to the cascading fallout in financial markets and on international trade, the events of recent months serve as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable power of humor and controversy. When a comedian's jokes become a flashpoint for national debate, they reveal fissures in public trust and invite us all to question the narratives we have long taken for granted. As the fallout from these events continues to evolve, one must ask, how much of today's political theater is orchestrated performance, and how much reflects genuine systemic issues that demand our attention? I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What is your take on the conflation of comedy and political accountability in our current climate? In this era of digital immediacy, where a single joke can inspire millions and alter economic trends almost overnight, the stakes have never been higher. The spectacle of Trump's outbursts on Truth Social, following Rock's biting satire, and the subsequent dismemberment of his carefully constructed image by media figures like Carrey and Kimmel, speaks to a broader cultural crisis, one where authenticity is often sacrificed at the altar of spectacle. Even as some political commentators brace themselves for an inevitable, albeit tepid, legal counterattack, the laughter of millions continues unabated in virtual corridors and social feeds. It might be tempting to dismiss these developments as merely the product of an overzealous online community, but the broader implications are far more serious. Every meme, every sarcastic remark serves as a barometer for public sentiment, highlighting the deep disconnect between the lofty proclamations of political leaders and the pragmatic realities of everyday life. While it is clear that the fallout from these events will keep both the media and political establishments busy for months to come, one cannot help but reflect on the irony that underpins this entire saga. In a nation where even economic policies have become fodder for late-night comedy, there is a poignant reminder that the lines between governance and entertainment are increasingly blurred. And as the story unfolds, the American people are left to grapple with a profound question. In a time when every utterance is dissected, parodied, and memified, can true leadership still be discerned amidst the theatrics? In conclusion, the cascading series of events triggered by Chris Rock's now iconic performance, and the equally theatrical responses from Trump, the media, and international audiences, illustrates the fragile state of modern political discourse. It also highlights the unpredictable ways in which humor can unmask some of the most serious economic and political challenges of our day. Whether it is the disintegration of a brand built on bold promises or the seismic shifts in international trade precipitated by an attempted annexation of Canada, this ongoing drama offers endless fodder for analysis, debate, and yes, even laughter. As you reflect on these developments, consider what it means for the future of political accountability and economic stability. How do we reconcile the growing influence of spectacle with the pressing need for substantive policy? And in an era marked by relentless satire, can humor serve as both a mirror and a catalyst for genuine change? Your insights and opinions matter. Please leave your comments and join the discussion. And if you find this analysis as engaging as we do, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations of the forces shaping our world. After all, in these turbulent times, a little thoughtful commentary can go a long way in helping us navigate the twists and turns of modern politics and economics. In the end, as memes continue to flood our feeds and economic forecasts paint a picture of cautious uncertainty, one thing remains clear. Our current moment is defined by contradictions of power and perception, of seriousness and satire, and of bold proclamations versus the quiet, insistent truths of everyday experience. It is in these contradictions that we find both the agony and the humor of our times. Perhaps, just perhaps, the laughter that echoes across social media is not simply a mockery of our leaders' missteps, but also a call to demand that those in positions of power remember that accountability cannot be masked by theatrics. For better or worse, the interplay of comedy, politics, and economics is rewriting the rules of engagement in our society. And as we watch this dramatic saga unfold, it challenges us all to question, is this the new normal? Or is it a wake-up call to reclaim a sense of genuine purpose in the midst of a spectacle that both entertains and unnerves? While the world grapples with these monumental questions, one thing is certain. The legacy of these moments will live on in our collective memory, serving as a testament to an era when the line between joke and jolt was never clearer. As we move forward, let us not forget that beneath the veneer of humor and media frenzy lies a reflection of our deepest societal concerns. A reflection that demands both our attention and our action.